What started as a perfect Saturday morning jog would become the beginning of one of the most baffling murder cases in Millbrook County's history. Jennifer Walsh seemed to have it all. A successful career as a marketing executive, a loving fiancé, and a bright future ahead of her. But on the morning of March 15, 2024, she vanished without a trace during her regular morning run along the Millbrook River Trail. Jennifer was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered. She was responsible, punctual, and would never just disappear without telling someone. Her sister Emma knew immediately that something terrible had happened when Jennifer failed to return home from her routine 5-mile run. For 3 weeks, the community searched desperately for any sign of Jennifer. Missing person flyers plastered every street corner. Volunteer search parties combed through miles of dense forest. Her family held candlelight vigils, praying for her safe return. The investigation would uncover something far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. A story of betrayal, obsession, and a killer hiding in plain sight. Jennifer had been following the same running routine for over 2 years. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, same route, same time along the Millbrook River Trail. Her fiancé David knew exactly when to expect her back, which is why he became concerned when she didn't return after 2 hours. Her usual 5-mile route never took more than 45 minutes. The last confirmed sighting of Jennifer was captured on a trail camera operated by the Parks Department at 7:03 a.m. The footage shows her running past the 2-mile marker, looking completely normal, unaware that she had less than an hour to live. What happened next would remain a mystery for 3 agonizing weeks, until a gruesome discovery along the riverbank changed everything. March 15, 2024, started like any other Saturday for Jennifer Walsh. Security footage from her apartment complex shows her leaving at exactly 6:47 a.m., dressed in her usual pink Nike running gear, wireless earbuds in, ready for her familiar route. Jennifer was a creature of habit, which made her disappearance even more alarming to those who knew her well. David Chen, Jennifer's fiancé, was making their usual Saturday morning breakfast when he realized she'd been gone for over 2 hours. He tried calling her cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. His concern quickly turned to panic. By 10 a.m., he was driving the river trail, honking his horn and calling Jennifer's name. By noon, he was filing a missing person report with the Millbrook County Police Department. Initially, police treated this as a standard missing person case. Adults have the right to disappear if they want to. But everything about Jennifer's life suggested she wouldn't just walk away. She had a promotion coming up at work, a wedding to plan in 6 months, and a mortgage application pending for their dream home. Detective Mike Rodriguez, the lead investigator on the case, knew from the beginning that this wasn't a voluntary disappearance. Jennifer's car was still in the apartment complex parking lot. Her work laptop was open on the kitchen table with emails half-written, and her engagement ring was sitting on the bathroom counter where she always left it before her runs. For 21 days, search teams scoured every inch of the Millbrook River Trail and surrounding forest. Volunteers walked shoulder to shoulder through dense undergrowth. Dive teams searched the murky river waters with sonar equipment. Helicopters circled overhead with thermal imaging cameras. The community rallied together, but Jennifer seemed to have vanished into thin air. The breakthrough came on April 5th, when local fisherman Pete Kowalski was checking his nets downstream, approximately 4 miles from where Jennifer was last seen alive. Partially buried under fallen branches and debris, Pete discovered Jennifer's decomposed remains. The 21-day search was finally over, but now they had a murder investigation on their hands. The body was in an advanced state of decomposition, but investigators could immediately identify Jennifer from dental records and a distinctive tattoo of a butterfly on her left ankle. The medical examiner's preliminary findings were disturbing. Jennifer had suffered severe blunt force trauma to the back of her head. The injury was consistent with being struck by a heavy object, possibly multiple times. Dr. Patricia Wong, the county medical examiner, determined that Jennifer had sustained a depressed skull fracture that would have been immediately incapacitating. Based on the wound pattern, they were looking for a weapon with a cylindrical shape, approximately 2 inches in diameter. The location where Jennifer's body was found raised more questions than answers. The river current wasn't strong enough to carry a body 4 miles downstream from the trail. Someone had deliberately moved Jennifer's body and attempted to hide it in the dense undergrowth along the riverbank. This wasn't a random attack or robbery gone wrong. Someone knew Jennifer's routine and had planned this carefully. Detective Rodriguez began examining everyone in Jennifer's life. Her phone records, social media accounts, and personal relationships were all scrutinized for potential motives. Statistics show that women are most likely to be killed by someone they know, often an intimate partner, so David Chen immediately came under suspicion. Text messages recovered from Jennifer's phone revealed that their seemingly perfect relationship had some underlying issues. 2 weeks before her disappearance, Jennifer had written to her best friend expressing doubts about their upcoming wedding, saying she felt trapped and wasn't sure she was ready for marriage. David Chen had a solid alibi for the morning Jennifer disappeared. His fitness tracker showed he was asleep until 8:30 a.m., and his neighbor confirmed seeing him working in his yard around 9 a.m. While investigators couldn't completely rule him out, the evidence pointed elsewhere. The investigation then turned to Jennifer's workplace, where detectives uncovered a disturbing pattern of behavior from her supervisor, 45-year-old Robert Sterling. Co-workers revealed that Sterling had been making unwanted advances toward Jennifer for months. When she rejected his advances and threatened to report his behavior to HR, he became increasingly hostile and obsessed. Melissa Torres, Jennifer's co-worker, described Sterling as being obsessed with Jennifer. He would find excuses to stop by her desk, offer to drive her home, and ask her out repeatedly, even though she was engaged. When Jennifer started avoiding him and documented his inappropriate behavior, Sterling became angry and began making veiled threats about her job security. Sterling claimed he was at home with his wife on the morning of the murder, but investigators discovered his wife was out of town visiting her mother that entire week. Security cameras at his apartment complex showed Sterling's car leaving at 6:15 a.m. and returning at 9:45 a.m., a time frame that perfectly aligned with Jennifer's disappearance. For the first time, investigators had a suspect with both motive and opportunity. Sterling had been rejected by Jennifer, faced potential disciplinary action at work, and had no verifiable alibi for the crucial time period. However, they still needed physical evidence to make an arrest. Sterling's behavior in the weeks following Jennifer's disappearance was also suspicious. While other co-workers were visibly upset and participated in search efforts, Sterling seemed oddly detached and even made inappropriate comments about Jennifer finally getting what she deserved for being such a tease. On May 25, 2024, Robert Sterling was arrested at his office and charged with first-degree murder, stalking, and tampering with evidence. The arrest sent shockwaves through the Millbrook community and provided some measure of closure for Jennifer's family, though their grief remained overwhelming. Emma Walsh felt a complex mix of relief and rage when Sterling was arrested. Relief that they finally had answers about what happened to her sister, but rage that someone Jennifer trusted and worked with every day had taken her away from them. The betrayal felt almost as painful as the loss itself. Sterling's trial began on September 3, 2024. The prosecution painted a picture of an obsessed man who couldn't accept rejection and escalated to murder when his advances were spurned. The evidence against Sterling was overwhelming. His fingerprints on the murder weapon, his suspicious behavior leading up to Jennifer's death, his lies about his whereabouts, and ultimately his own confession. The prosecution argued that Sterling had stalked Jennifer like prey, learning her routine, planning his attack, and brutally murdering her when she refused his advances. This wasn't a crime of passion, but cold-blooded, premeditated murder that deserved the harshest possible punishment. Sterling's defense team argued that the killing was manslaughter, not murder, claiming their client acted in the heat of passion rather than with premeditation. They portrayed Sterling as a lonely, recently divorced man who made a terrible mistake but didn't plan to kill Jennifer. The defense attorney argued that Sterling's actions were the result of miscommunication and emotional instability, not calculated murder. However, the jury wasn't convinced by this portrayal. The evidence of stalking, the planned nature of the attack, and the deliberate disposal of the body all pointed to premeditation. 6 weeks into the investigation, the case against Robert Sterling was largely circumstantial. Detective Rodriguez decided to conduct one more systematic search of the area where Jennifer's body was found, this time using metal detectors and a more thorough grid search pattern. On May 20th, investigators made a crucial discovery buried under 6 inches of soil, approximately 50 yards from where Jennifer's body was found. Hidden beneath fallen leaves and dirt was a metal hiking stick with dried blood on the handle. DNA testing confirmed the blood belonged to Jennifer Walsh, and fingerprints on the handle belonged to Robert Sterling. Dr. Wong confirmed that the hiking stick matched perfectly with the wound pattern on Jennifer's skull. The cylindrical shape, the weight, and the diameter were all consistent with the murder weapon they had been searching for. When confronted with this overwhelming physical evidence, Sterling's story began to fall apart under intense police interrogation. Sterling initially denied ever being near the river trail, but faced with his fingerprints on the murder weapon and his suspicious timeline, he finally confessed. According to his statement, he had been following Jennifer's running routine for weeks, learning her schedule and identifying the most isolated sections of the trail. On the morning of March 15th, Sterling admitted to parking his car at a trail access point about a mile downstream from Jennifer's usual route. He hiked up the trail with his walking stick, positioning himself at a bend in the path where Jennifer would be most vulnerable and furthest from help. Sterling claimed that Jennifer became frightened when she saw him waiting for her. She threatened to call police about his stalking behavior and file a restraining order. In what he described as a fit of rage, Sterling struck Jennifer with the hiking stick. However, investigators believed the attack was premeditated, not spontaneous as Sterling claimed. After deliberating for just 4 hours, the jury returned a verdict of guilty on all charges: first-degree murder, stalking, and tampering with evidence. On October 15, 2024, Robert Sterling was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While justice was served, nothing could bring Jennifer back to her loved ones. 7 months after Jennifer's murder, her family and friends continue to process the senseless loss of a vibrant young woman whose only crime was rejecting the advances of a dangerous man. Jennifer had so many unfulfilled dreams: starting her own marketing company, traveling to Europe for her honeymoon, and maybe having children someday. The case highlighted serious issues about workplace harassment and stalking that often go unreported or unaddressed until it's too late. Jennifer's former employer implemented new policies for reporting workplace harassment, including anonymous reporting systems and mandatory counseling for problematic employees. Looking back, there were numerous red flags about Sterling's behavior that should have been taken more seriously. His obsessive attention, inappropriate comments, and escalating hostility when rejected were all warning signs that could have prevented this tragedy if properly addressed by management. The Millbrook River Trail, where Jennifer was murdered, has been renamed the Jennifer Walsh Memorial Trail. A small plaque marks the spot where she was last seen alive, serving as a reminder for joggers and hikers to stay aware of their surroundings and trust their instincts when something feels wrong. David Chen still cannot bring himself to run the trail where his fiancée was killed, but he's glad it now bears her name. Jennifer loved that place, and now it will forever be part of her legacy. Robert Sterling maintains his innocence despite his confession and overwhelming evidence, currently serving his life sentence at Millbrook State Penitentiary. Jennifer Walsh was just 28 years old when her life was cut short by a man who couldn't accept rejection. Her story serves as a tragic reminder that obsession can turn deadly, and that we must take threats and harassment seriously before it's too late.